guys, welcome back to another video. For today's video, I wanted to try revisiting every single digital art program I've ever used in the past and try drawing in it again. This was surprisingly more of a challenge than I expected. One part of me thought it would be smart to do the same drawing in every single program in order to effectively compare, and another part of me just wanted to get a bunch of art fight attacks done. So today I will be drawing a different character in each program and just seeing how it goes. Let's begin. So this is my old tablet from high school. This was my tried and true. This is how I made all my art back in the day, and it was super nostalgic to get it out again. I'm pleasantly surprised it still works after all these years, like this laptop that has a history of blue screening. Well, a decade later, it's not blue screening anymore, and I'm not gonna ask any questions. And I'm super relieved and happy about that, because not only does it have a bunch of old files from older computers than that one, how else would I authentically be able to experience the classic, the beauty that is MS Paint again, even if I have to settle for this newer version of it. The version I grew up with and what I used most often looked like this. I really wish I could experience this version of MS Paint again, because I honestly think it's the best version of it. I mean, this newer version's fine too. It has a couple of new tools and such, but there's just a certain charm that the old one had, you know, just the simplicity of it. And yeah, that's how my digital art journey began. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember, at least since I was around 4 years old or so, but I first found out about MS Paint and that you can draw on the computer. I distinctly remember, it's a core memory of mine. I remember I was sitting in my elementary school art classroom. I was like dazing off. I wasn't paying attention to what the teacher was saying, and I was kind of looking around the classroom. You know when you look around the classroom and you're just like looking at all the posters and stuff that you like stare at all day? Well, I noticed one day next to the computers in the classroom there was printer paper with marker written on it with instructions like step 1, step 2. It was like a file path, like start, applications, MS Paint. And I was curious about that, and I tucked it away in my memory, and I thought I wanted to try it on my computer at home. Sure enough, I opened up my computer at home and like remembered the instructions, and I found MS Paint, and the rest is history. I just drew all the time. I mean, it was mostly scribbles and like the spray paint effect. When I got a little older, I started drawing things that you could call anime inspired, but yeah, that's how I found out about MS Paint and digital art in general. And the next drawing program I used after that was Photoshop Elements 8. Around the time when I started my first YouTube channel back in 2011, I upgraded my drawing program to Photoshop Elements, and it happened to come with a drawing tablet too, which was huge for me because up until that point, I was just drawing with my mouse. It was one of those, it wasn't a trackpad, it was like the red dot in the center of the keyboard and the buttons on the bottom. I don't know if that makes sense. If you know, you know. If you're old enough to know, you know. Actually, I'm sorry, I think the correct thing was we were shopping for a drawing tablet, and the drawing tablet happened to come with Photoshop Elements. Again, huge for me at the time. I was seeing other artists online at the time. A lot of people used MS Paint. Some people, I think, were using Paint.net. Some people were using Paint Tool Sci, and others were using Photoshop. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, finally, I can have a program with layers and that isn't so pixely looking. It was just a huge thing for me. I was able to use all sorts of new brushes, and yeah, it helped me grow a lot. And drawing with a tablet instead of a mouse also helped a ton. As revolutionary as this was for me back in the day, returning to it was actually one of the harder programs to handle, and maybe either I've forgotten or maybe I'm just really dumb and couldn't figure it out. That's a possibility, but I was really surprised to find that it was missing a lot of basic key features of a digital art program, for example, a clipping tool. So whenever I wanted to shade just a specific portion of color, or if I wanted to color the line art, I just had to use the alpha lock feature that it had at least. Another really annoying and non-user-friendly quirk about it was that every time I did Ctrl-Z and undid something, if I was on a previous layer, it would always take me back to that previous layer, and then I would just like start drawing again and be drawing on the wrong layer, and that happened quite a bit. And this is something I can say about all these old programs, but I use a very specific set of brushes with Procreate that I don't have available to me in these older programs, and what brushes I do have available to me in older programs, I'm sort of limited to those. And funnily enough, I think that made this piece of work kind of remind me of my older art pieces that I made back in 2012 when I was first using this program, because of like using the same brushes and stuff. This is the selection I had back then and what I'm using now. This was before the time of custom brushes and importing new brushes, or at least I wasn't aware that you could do that. I'm not really sure. And I was barely using the program right. I was barely even drawing it okay. Do you think I could have figured out changing the individual brush settings? Like, absolutely not. My frontal lobe undeveloped, my brain was not there yet back then. In general though, as with each of these drawings, I tried to do my best with what was available to me, and I just did my best to try to make each one look as nice as possible, even if using each program was giving me trouble to some degree. I'm just so used to the intuitiveness and ease of use that Procreate has that going back to these programs, I struggled a little bit. But here's the finished product. It's not terrible, but it's not my best work, and I think that's what bothers me most about it. But I did my best. Anyway, moving on to the next program, Paint Tool Sai. This one was actually a joy to return to. The program's very lightweight and ran really quickly even on my ancient laptop. But again, I couldn't help just keep wishing for brushes beyond the default brush set that was available to me because younger me didn't know how to customize brushes or download any new ones. So I was kind of forced to use a style of brush that's really not my style. I think my voice shines best through my work when I use a lot of textures, even down to the line art. I'm not really a fan of the smooth line. I like a really textured, very crunchy kind of line. Like I like a good crunch. Like you look at my art and it's just like it's got some good texture and flavor, but with these smooth lines, I feel like I can't achieve that. But I didn't let that bother me too much, and I just kind of viewed it as an experiment, drawing in a way that I don't usually do. After returning to it and trying it out again, I actually would be interested in using it more often again. It runs well, it's very intuitive to use, and maybe I'll look into customizing some brushes so I can draw in a way that I'm more used to doing today. I'm just glad I still have access to it. I'm really glad that my old laptop has not officially died yet, and I hope it never does, because I don't think I can get this program again. I mean, the last time I checked, I think the website throws up alarm bells in most browsers when you visit it, and like I know logically I know that it's safe and stuff, but that like kind of freaks me out that it's like not a secure website and everything, and the price is kind of steep too. And I don't even think it would serve me very well because I don't have a screen tablet for my desktop PC, which is my Windows operating system, because it also can only run on a Windows operating system. After using Clip Studio Paint for as long as I have and then switching to Procreate, I think that was a huge aspect of why my art improved so much, was going from screenless tablet to a screen tablet. And I can't ignore the cost factor as well, especially because I didn't even have to pay for this copy. I didn't pirate it. It was actually a gift from a really good friend. She bought Paint Tool Sai for herself and then gave me one of her serial numbers, which was super sweet, and I'm still super grateful for that to this day. But yeah, here's how the finished drawing turned out, and I'm actually really happy with it. And I have to say, I really enjoyed using Paint Tool Sai again. Also, look at this cute screensaver. I totally forgot I had that. Alright, so our next program will be on a new computer. The fun thing about this laptop is that it wasn't even turning on, so I was really worried about the fate of this video. It's alive! I was so worried. After about 5 minutes of pressing the on button on and off, the screen finally turned on, but we are definitely on life support here. So while I'm very careful to not knock the plug out of the computer and keep it plugged in at all costs, we'll move on to our next art program, which is firealpaca. This program was really great to use in its time. It looks very primitive. Like when I opened it up again, it was very clunky, and I was like, I can't believe I had used this for so long when I was using it. But then after using it again after a little bit, I was like, oh yeah, it's a perfectly fine, decent program. Right off the bat, I was really happy with the default pen selection that it had, because I was able to use a very fluffy brush and give the line art that texture that I like. And a unique thing about this program that I actually really like is that it automatically references the line art when you color drop on a layer, and then it'll just color drop within the line art where you drew. It's really convenient. Another great thing about this program is its native in-house animation features. This was such a powerhouse for me back in the day. I was able to animate so smoothly with this and iMovie. It was a combo I really enjoyed working with. I mean, it'll never have my heart like MS Paint in Windows Movie Maker has, or even Photoshop Elements in Windows Movie Maker. I still feel like those were my prime back in the day. But yeah, I mean, along with Paint Tool Sai, this is another program that I would honestly recommend to this day. I mean, I don't know how much it has to offer in the realm of brush customization, but it runs really smoothly, and it's a lightweight program, and it's very convenient, and it's free. And the animation features it has really are pretty nice. I even have a tutorial posted on how I animated with firealpaca and iMovie on my old channel, but I'm not going to link it or anything here. I mean, my old channel is not a secret, but it's I would prefer if it stayed in the past, honestly. If you know about it, that's fine, but like, I'm not going to actively push you to go over there. Alright, moving on to Clip Studio Paint. Despite this being a newer computer and one that I do still use from time to time, surprisingly, it was giving me some issues when I was trying to open Screencast-O-Matic, which was the old software I used to use to record my screen for speed paints and such. Well, it's probably more of the program's fault. I think it's a really old program. It worked just fine on my old laptop, but whatever. So this one I had to record the old-fashioned way with a camera. Alright, where do I begin with Clip Studio Paint? You've probably heard me speak not so positively about it in the past. Well, that's not true. You've probably heard me compare it a lot to Procreate in Procreate's favor. But honestly, how I truly feel about Clip Studio Paint, I think it's an excellent program. I'm so glad I have it, and I would recommend it to anyone. I think it is probably one of the best art programs that's out there. Unfortunately, I think the company is moving into a subscription model of paying for it though, so I haven't really checked up on that since I heard that news, but if it's still available by one-time payment, I would highly recommend jumping on that before anything changes, because it's worth it. The way I would describe Clip Studio Paint is it's like a perfect blend between Paint Tool Sai and Photoshop, with some additional elements of manga creating capabilities and animation capabilities as well. I'm so glad I have it, but I feel like to this day I still haven't used it to its full potential. But I plan to, especially when comes the time when I'm ready to finally self-publish my manga-inspired graphic novel, because it has a really cool feature where you can lay out all of the pages so that it's ready for printing. The brush selection is also very nice, and the blending capabilities of this program are just, they can't be beat. The amount of assets you can find on the Clip Studio asset store, for free too, you can pay for some or you can download some for free. There's just a huge library of stuff that just makes this program have so much potential. And here's the finished Clip Studio drawing. And finally, we land on Procreate, which is the art program that I still use to this day and is my top favorite art program by far. So I guess I'll use this section of narration to explain why I like it so much more than Clip Studio. I think ultimately it boils down to screenless tablet versus screen tablet, but sometimes I think if I were using Clip Studio even with a screen tablet, would I still like Procreate more, or would I like Clip Studio? And honestly, I think I would still go for Procreate. I think in my opinion, Procreate is being way more lightweight and more intuitive of a program, makes it very easy to use and for anybody to pick up, and for people like me who tend to be on the simpler side to figure it out a lot quicker. I think I really like and have taken to more the default and extended amount of brushes that are available in Procreate rather than the ones in Clip Studio. I'm really not sure what else to say about it. I mean, I like the simple interface, I like the brushes, I like the way it runs, I like the convenience factor that it's on the iPad and I can take it with me anywhere, and you know, it's drawing on a screen versus drawing on a screenless tablet, which is totally unique in my case because I don't have a screen tablet and I don't have Clip Studio on my iPad. But I've seen Clip Studio on the iPad and it looks just like very clunky. I think the nature of Procreate lends itself to be way better of a mobile art app while being as powerful of a program that it is. The animation features it has are also really convenient when you want to make a little GIF or something. And while I will admit that Clip Studio has it be in the realm of comic page making, especially with its tone capabilities and stuff, Procreate has a selection of tone brushes that you can find online, or you can make them yourself, and I've actually been really enjoying making my webcomic pages and my manga pages in Procreate so far. And I feel like this is something I've noticed in my art from previous programs, but ever since I switched to Procreate, my art has been so vibrant and colorful, and I don't know if it has to do with the display screen of the iPad versus other computers I was using. Maybe the colors weren't exactly accurate. I mean, that could be another thing about it. It's also, I mean, revisiting all these old programs, I found that it's actually way more intuitive and easier to hue saturation adjust and color correct in this program than the previous programs that I was using. I mean, it might be possible, but it's not always easy to find. That could totally just be a me problem as well. Honestly, I'm not really trying to convince you that Procreate's the best program, it's just the best program for me. I think it's the one that clicked with me the most, and that's why I like it, and that's why it's my favorite program. But I know there's tons of other really great art programs that are out there that lots of you guys probably use, so definitely tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear about them, because I only know what I know. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was interesting for you, and I hope you enjoyed watching me take a trip down memory lane and use all the art programs that I have ever used in the past. Let me know if you've used any of them too. And before I go, I just wanted to share a couple more art fight attacks that I received that I am so grateful for. I love them all so much, and I wanted you all to appreciate them as well. All the artists will be linked in the description, as well as my webcomic, because I just released a bunch of new pages, but they're just on Patreon for now. But definitely go to the webcomic site and keep up with it. It releases every Sunday, and if you want to read ahead, you could join the Patreon party. That you could do that too. But yeah, I'm just really excited about it because I've been able to make a lot of pages recently, so the story is really moving along. Anyway, thank you so much again for watching. Please consider subscribing if you want to see more from me, and please consider giving this video a like and commenting your thoughts because I love reading your comments. See you next time. Bye bye!